Now we have people with guns in Japan. Hello, this is Dan from About That Life in Japan. Welcome back to the channel. This is something that you rarely hear in Japan. Someone having a gun and actually using the gun. That's just something you don't hear about in Japan. Um, it is so difficult to get a weapon. Anyway, this is just beyond me. I mean, I am so comfortable living in Japan, and one of the main reasons is because there are no guns. You don't have to worry about guns. But now, this is something that you need to worry about. Not just guns running around, but people going into hospitals, shooting up people in the hospitals in Japan. This is part of the reason why I feel it's so comfortable for me living in Japan. I don't worry about guns. I'm not anti-gun. If I'm in the United States, I've gone hunting. I've been to Tanzania on safari, and I'm not anti-guns. You need something to protect yourself, by all means. If it's within the law, great. But it is one of the reasons why I feel so comfortable and safe here in Japan. No one has a gun. You don't have to worry about getting shot. You don't really have to worry about getting hurt, to be honest with you, other than driving maybe. This has changed. So yeah, this is amazing. Now, I believe that police in Japan have a different way of dealing with things. This gentleman has, wow, this gentleman shot someone in a hospital. He shot one or two people in the hospital, which is something you never hear about. Um, you just don't hear about these things in Japan. And this person went off in the hospital and shot someone. That's just shocking. That's enough to shock the whole country. Yeah. He didn't stop there. He went off to the post office and took hostages. Again, this is something you rarely hear about in Japan. Someone taking hostages. And this is just like, wow. I'm almost, I don't want to blame it on Netflix, but it's like, are people watching too much TV? You know? And now everyone's going crazy. This is something you'd never hear about. I never heard anything like this 20 years ago when I first came here. And now within the span of a couple of years, we got two incidents of normal citizens with guns, doing crazy things. And this is just shocking. But I think another thing is the police have had no real experience with issues like this. So that's another concern, because all of a sudden we've got these police officers who have served and they've done their job the best of their abilities, just like normal. But now we have these incidents that have never really popped up. I'm sure they must have some type of training in these situations, for these situations. Definitely, I hope. But nothing like on the scale of what they might do, what might happen in the United States. I mean, so it's almost like, okay, we need to grab some of these guys, send them to send them to Texas, get some training in, and then come back to Japan. This is scary because this happened in a hospital. Everyone goes to the hospital and you go in and it's so, I don't want to say comfortable, but there's no hassle. You go to a hospital in Japan. The only hospital in Japan that might be a little troublesome are the university hospitals. If you're going for if you're going for something serious, I hate to say that something serious, but anytime you go to the hospital, it might be serious. But university hospitals tend to have a longer wait. You have to have an introduction, shokaisho or something, and it's more of a hassle than going to a normal local clinic or hospital. But still, it's something that's not unreasonable. It's something that's not uncomfortable. You go, you show your insurance card, tell them what's wrong, wait for the doctor, boom, you get your medicine, treatment, whatever necessary, and go home. there's nothing really tedious about it, other than actually physically having to leave home and go to the hospital, clinic. But now you have to worry about someone going in there and shooting and wounding people with guns. That's just unheard of in Japan. Didn't stop there. Next, let's go to the post office and continue this this reign of terror. Let's continue and go to the post office and take it up a notch. Oh, wow. The fact that someone was shot in Japan is already out there. It's unbelievable. Then, on top of that, he takes hostages. Unbelievable. He took two ladies hostage in the post office. One was injured, one got away, but took someone hostage. That also unheard of. I mean, totally unheard of. And who did it? And my first thoughts, okay, this is another guy who got rejected. This is another guy who didn't understand no means no. This is another guy who's, spent too much time on his computer doing whatever. And real life slapped him in the face, and he's like, "Oh, wait a minute, okay," and didn't like it. No, I don't think so. This was an 86-year-old man. Because this happened in a hospital, this might have been a case. You read about it in the news sometimes, where older people don't have anywhere to go. They don't have family. They don't have someone to support them and help them at home. So oftentimes you read about people committing crimes at an older age to get into the system, and that way they don't have anything to worry about. I know it might sound strange, but this is what sometimes we hear about things like this in the news in Japan. Most of these crimes are petty crimes. I say petty, they're non-violent, but it's enough to get the police to arrest you, and then they go through the system. And that comes up. Why? And obviously they explain themselves. But this is on a whole other level. I'm just shocked. And it's scary because I just got through talking about guns and weapons in Japan, and you don't hear about these things. And here we are with not a young, chimpita punk, wanting to do a crime to get into the gang. This is an 86-year-old dude who, for whatever reason, got up, went to the hospital, shot someone. No, excuse me, back up. Who thought he needed to go and get a gun. Went and got a gun. Don't know how he did that. Got a gun, went to the hospital, shot someone, didn't stop, went to the post office, took hostages, and eventually got arrested. It's just like, wow. I understand the post office, and this is something that I think in the United States we don't hear much about. The post office in Japan is, yes, postal services, but also bank. They have bank service as well. And so I think my first bank account was actually from the post office in Higashi, Osaka. And I think that's something that we don't really deal with money so much, so many money transactions going on at the post office. Not large scale, but you can go to the post office and withdraw a fair amount of cash, or you can deposit a fair amount of cash. The post office are also all over. They're like little bitty convenience stores. They're very local. Most of them are very local and within your little area, your little town. And so they're really easily accessible. The same thing with hospitals and clinics. I say hospitals, excuse me. The same thing with clinics in Japan. So I can see where these places are very easily accessible, very common, and these places might get to know you. They might actually, oh, hey, you're back again. Oh, welcome. Oh, how's everything? And you could develop a rapport, a good working relationship in these places within your community. You could develop a good working relationship within these places in your community. So I find it hard to believe that he just woke up and said, I want to do some wrong. I think this might have been something that was boiling up and got him to a point where he felt that today I just can't take it anymore. And I want to know, how did he get a gun? You won't read about that in the news. I mean, I've never really read where anyone says this person got a gun by this means or they got a gun this way. I wonder how he got it. That's, yeah. And they don't mention his being affiliated with any gangs or something, which they usually do when there are the very rare cases where there are shootings in Japan. They do clearly state, oh, this is a known member of whatever group he or she, usually a gentleman, he's a member of. But they didn't mention that in this news. So I'm wondering if this, again, was just another citizen that woke up on the wrong side of the bed, went through some illegal means to get a weapon, and yeah, decided they wanted to do some wrong at 86 years old. Wow. I mean, it's wow. I don't even know how they're going to punish this dude. I mean, you put him in jail, and I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, what are you going to give him, 5 years? You know, he might, I don't know. I don't know. Man, I don't even know what to say. You know, you throw the book at this dude, and he might just fall off right there. 20 years. Boom, done. You know, I mean, you know. Oh my goodness.